Mickela and Richard. Good afternoon, folks.
Good afternoon.
How are you today?
Good. And good afternoon to all of our listeners.
Yes.
Everything is well. I'm grateful for small blessings. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm okay. I always take it one step at a time.
Yes, absolutely. That's the world we live in today.
Yeah.
We have to take it one step. We have to take it one day at a time.
Mm-hmm.
We would have seen the passing of Queen Elizabeth today.
Yeah.
Queen Elizabeth II. Yes. After a very long reign,
Yeah.
long reign, 70 years,
Yeah.
I believe it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a long time, and therefore a lot of us who are alive today would have perhaps only known her
Yes.
um, as a monarch,
Hmm.
and I was thinking about it, and I said, whether you are pro or anti monarchy,
Yeah.
I think one thing we all can get from it is her extreme devotion to service
Yes.
and duty.
Mm-hmm.
So we may not, many of us, I think, will not agree with the history of Britain and the British Empire and all different kinds of things. And then we'll have the extreme monarchists who, believe in the institution of constitutional monarchy. But I think we can all get something from it, which is that level and sense of duty, commitment, humility.
Yeah.
I don't think we see that in leaders anymore.
Hmm.
That's what I call that steadfastness, that grace, traits that I feel we are lacking in leaders. And I don't just say so for our country, I say so throughout the world.
Yes.
We seem to be in a kind of leadership crisis
Yes.
throughout the world, and perhaps her passing will allow those with power to sit back and think and reassess and reevaluate. I mean, for someone to stay that long and to be more or less free,
Yeah.
as much from scandal and all this things that we see all our politicians, going through, it is something. I always look for something positive of what we can learn.
Yes.
We can learn.
I agree.
And I think whilst youth is important, we can always learn from those who have come before us, from the great things they've done, and also, dare I say, the mistakes,
Right.
that was made. But how do you feel that, does it something that affects you, or you think it's an era that was there? Now we're moving into something else. Do you feel we could get anything from it, or
Well, I will agree with you.
she's passed, things have changed,
Yeah, I will agree with you with dedication and commitment to duty and service are concerned. I'll agree with that.
Yes.
The British Empire is concerned,
Yeah.
and what they have done to become the
It's a whole different
it's a different story.
to become the empire.
Yeah.
Correct.
They trampling on
Correct.
different nations to become that and thing. I don't settle for that at all. But
Plundering.
duty,
Plundering.
yes, plundering, and calling themselves the bosses. People are now calling for reparations.
And taking.
Yes. But I know
Yes.
I like history. I have history as a subject, and I will dwell on the era and how it panned out. From then to now, as much as I can remember, because serving 70 years, that was before I born. But
Exactly.
when you think about especially where Trinidad and Tobago is concerned, when you look at we say we follow the Westminster system, but we don't really follow it. We just have that as an umbrella, because what we see happened to Prime Minister Johnson and other members who just slipped, just meager errors. They had to step down. There are certain laws that they uphold,
Oh yeah.
big times, that we allow to happen. You know, some of these politicians, I remember when this prime minister came in, he said, plenty of them making jail and cha la 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 la, you know. But that was just a saying on the platform.
Yeah.
You know, but we don't follow
Correct.
the Westminster system the way how they in England follow it. You know, the
Correct.
people who are in parliament, they are very concerned about country, and they will even fight in the parliament to get their point across. We don't see that happening here. We see a lot of corruption and a whole heap of different things happening that is being swept under the carpet. Look at, for instance, the start of this commission of inquiry.
Yes.
I mean, that is appalling, to say the least. To know that, you know, after all this time, it's been months. The people need some kind of closure, and they, like, nobody seems to bother. They said they don't even have pens, and you can.
Yeah. I thought that was somebody making a joke. I really thought it was somebody making a joke on Twitter. One of those things. I said,
you
don't have pen, you don't have this. You're setting up a commission of inquiry, and you haven't put that which needs to be in place.
I tell you,
you have to go and borrow a pen from upstairs.
Yeah.
No, you're right. We claim to follow the Westminster system.
No,
in which way? Which is why I mean, my father has spoken about constitutional reform for the mere reason that we are living in 2022 in an outdated constitution, which does not work for our people, our culture, our country anymore. But even so, we remember in the parliament in Britain, you have what you call backbenchers.
Yes.
And backbenchers, which are people in the government or form part of the government, but they sit at the back and that they don't have ministerial roles.
Yes.
And if the government comes with something and you give what you got, a 3-line whip, which allows you to vote on your conscience or for your constituents or their beliefs, the government can lose.
Yes.
You know, there is a level of accountability within that system, at least the way that it is practiced within the United Kingdom, within Britain, that we don't have here.
That's
because
right.
as soon as you behave bad here, you get moved. You're getting put to the back of the class.
Yes.
So to say, maybe just because we have such a small parliament, but we have a small country. So
That's
maybe
right.
we don't have enough people in terms of saying that we can have those who are able to dissent and that kind of thing. Yes, there are 41 seats, but you're coming in sometimes with 21 or 22.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have more ministries than that. You know, so we don't. You're right. We don't follow it, but. No, Boris Johnson would, in my mind, never have stepped down, but he did not have a choice.
That's right. Exactly.
Right?
They're firm in their stance for that kind of representation. If you're saying this, don't do the opposite.
Correct. And and man going down because he says it was a gathering. Sorry if I've got the words wrong. It was not a celebration. It started with the whole COVID thing when people were on lockdown, and he says, "Oh, it was a leaving do," or some kind of thing like that. But the slightest allegation, and it doesn't even have to be proven many times. Just the muttering, in their view, brings the office, whether it be the prime minister or minister or the chancellor, whoever it is, if that brings the office into disrepute and therefore let people's hope or people's trust in the office is eroded or in question, you have to go.
That's right. That's right.
Cheating allegations. Our next one. Well, if that happened in Trinidad, will happen there, man. We have no opposition. We have no government. We have nobody. We don't have nobody. But you know, something as simple as that. If it is that you behave inappropriately in public, you are expected to go.
No, that's right. Right out.
Right out, as they say.
Yeah, they're not handling that. You know, but it's the total opposite here, where we claim that it's a Westminster system. To me, we follow more of the Yankee way of governance. And still, We don't fall into that level of governance. People do all kind of things and get away scot-free.
There is evidence where the evidence will be there, whether it is in front of you and you are getting away. But the small man, the small man can't get away. Or the hand of the law will come down like a ton of bricks.
Yes.
On the small man, on the street, but let it be somebody else. No. And that is the level of unfairness, and I'm waiting for it because I want to be able to discuss these issues of these lawyer fees.
Yes.
Which will take us our conversation going very well into getting into that issue of these lawyer fees, which have recently come up that former Attorney General Anand Ramlogan did what you call a Freedom of Information Act request. And found out how much money was spent, which is close to $1 billion. And I would prefer wait a little bit for Rich. I think he's here with us.
Yeah, he's here.
I am here all the time since he died.
Yeah, he's been listening.
Yes.
So Rich is here. Good evening, Rich.
Good evening, Mix. How are you?
I'm good. We were talking about the Westminster system, and I know that you've heard what we were saying, but something that I wanted to discuss in terms of very much of what on the same theme that what Darimak and I were chatting about is this issue that has recently come up with lawyer fees, and I'm a lawyer as well, so I understand the rules and regulations and how things are supposed to be done, and how what I see coming out, and how extremely disturbing I find it to be. And I wanted to really begin, Rich, by saying, so this Freedom of Information Act request was done by Anand Ramlogan. And it was said that close to $1 billion was paid out for legal fees and services in 7 years. And he said that doesn't include legal fees paid by government ministries and state enterprises, etc. So he says from September 2015, which I assume would be a month after the election, to January 2022, a handful of attorneys received over 15 million each, and over 50. So we saw one getting 21 million, one getting 17 million. The current AG actually receiving 13 million. And I say before anybody wants to bring a defamation suit against me, I'm saying what was reported in the paper, which I assume them having gotten the response to the Freedom of Information request. They were simply repeating that. So you see foreign attorneys getting 63 million. And I want to keep into perspective, this country has 1.2 or 1.3 million people, okay? So if we want to say what's a million? And you saw local firms getting 233 million, okay? No problem. But what I wanted to also say, that I remember on the 7th of September was the general election. On the 12th of October, I was 12 or 13, forgive me, but I do know that it was the day that the then AG, Faris Al-Rawi, was giving his budget presentation. And he said that the People's Partnership spent almost $1 billion in legal fees. And he now was quoting, and I quote from what he says, 11 lawyers, and I should call just some numbers of a few. One got 60 million, one got 58 million, $167,495.93. I don't know how they come up with the 93 cents. So I'm going to round it off. So 58 million, 50 million, 35 million. And he says 1.3 million was earned by an attorney who was 8 months out of law school. Okay. So let's put it, and both of them were done through a Freedom of Information. I remember Dr. Rowley at the time, because I don't forget anything. Dr. Rowley at the time, I remember he was in the opposition, and he had asked a question in Parliament as to how much these lawyers were being paid. Now, I'm going to say that if you tell me from 2010 to 2022, which will cover them both, and 7 years, we still have three more, just under 3 more to go. With over $2 billion spent on legal fees clearly from the answer that was given to the request, a handful of lawyers, mind you, some of the same that got under both. Did the people or the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago get value for their money? Because it looks like from 2010 to 2022, over $2 billion was spent on legal fees. So did we get value for our money? Because it's taxpayers' money. It's taxpayers' money, not the government's money. It's not the Attorney General's money. It's not the Minister of Finance money. Okay? Now, when people get up in the morning and see this, no, and you're telling them, no, we can't find no money to pay teachers and nurses a higher wage, right? We can't find any money to improve the infrastructure and fix the road. We can't find money to set up the DNA lab to reduce crime. How do you expect people to react to that? How do you expect people to react to that? I mean, it is ridiculous. When, as a lawyer, I can tell you fees are calculated based on an hourly rate in accordance with the years of experience you have. So if I am, so it's 1 to 5, I believe, 5 to 10, and then over 20 or some kind of thing like that. And then I think the highest would be senior counsel, which is, I believe, about 4,000 an hour. Okay. But tell me something. If a senior counsel, and I'm saying if because I don't know if it was a senior counsel that got the 60 million. If a senior counsel gets 60 million, right? He spent 15,000 hours therefore in that case and worked 625 days non-stop every single day, 24 hours a day. Come on, man. Come on. I am not going to question anybody. I was not there. It would be inappropriate for me to do that. I'm already not a friend of the legal fraternity because I don't fall into that group of people. But I would like to say that when you can't find money to do this, to pay one person, right? 50 million, 73,040 cents or whatever. What is going on? You cannot expect the average person in Trinidad and Tobago to be able to accept that. And most of all, you have to ask yourself, if I've spent money on this, and maybe it was very important litigation that we are unaware of, but if I have spent money on this, the question is now, did this country and its taxpayers get value for money? What did we get? Are we in a better place than we would have been had $2 billion not been spent from 2010 to 2022? And I say that, and I'm going to give you a chance to speak because I don't want to rattle on too much, but I have to also say this.
No, you are not rattling on. You are not rattling. Educating
I'm
our
upset.
listeners.
Yeah, and I feel very passionate about it as well. I want to also say, I don't care about the tit for tat. So they find out what the PNM, whilst in opposition, found out what the government, the People's Partnership government did. And now through Anand Ram Logan, who was the irony, who was the Attorney General at the time under which these huge amounts were spent, he now files a Freedom of Information request and finds out almost $1 billion was also spent. And so I am a citizen of this country, and I say, to all you spend $1 billion on lawyers. I am supposed to accept that? When people are calling me and asking me, Miss Panday, I have this, you can't send my child to school. I have gas to put in my car to go to work. I have money to travel. I have nothing to, so I have to choose between traveling and eating. And we wake up to see that they are saying, who spent the billion and who's going to spend just over $1 billion? Are these people for real? Are these people for real? it is very rare that I get upset. It is very, very rare. But when, and I have to say, former AG, I listened to him in his budget contribution. It must have been the 12th of October, 13th of October, I can't remember, in 2015. And he was saying that they were going to review this and they were going to make sure that this didn't happen and that didn't happen and this, and there was going to be a new fee structure of how things were going to be done. And now we see through the Freedom of Information request that the exact same thing was done. And therefore, I say today that the PNM and the UNC are interchangeable. And that nothing will change. And it's upsetting because we have no money, but we have money to give to a few who have enough for, as they say, the children, the grandchildren, the great-grandchildren. A few to justify a bill of $58,167,495.93 is beyond me. You're saying, Faris, Arawi, my friend, so this is not a personal attack on anybody. With me, it's never that. I wasn't brought up like that. But this is the office that we speak about, of which you were the head, was saying 1.3 million was earned by an attorney who was 8 months out of law school. All of that happened, and you all went and did the same thing, and it is insufficient and unacceptable to then pick some nonsense and say to me, well, it didn't really include the ministry and state enterprises, or it didn't. It doesn't matter whether it did or it did not. None of those governments could justify $1 billion in legal fees, Rich. They cannot. And that money was being spent during COVID. Where did they find the money to spend that then? No. And people are struggling. The worst that they have struggled. While things get more expensive, your savings done. You don't have a job. Your employer can't pay you. Your creditors want the money. You don't even have a grace period anymore. And we get up in the morning to see, yes, a handful of attorneys received $21 million, 17. And we hear our current AG receiving 13 million. And therefore, I think he's in a wonderful place to explain to us how these fees are charged. And where the Ministry of Finance gets the money to do this. I would like to know. I'd like to know. And I open the floor to you, Rich. And I apologize to you and to the listeners. It infuriates me because I find it's a slap in the face to the people of this country. It shows the divide in this country, and it's just not justifiable in any way or form. So that's me, Rich. I don't know what you think.
Well, great job, Mickela. Fantastic job. And yes, I agree with you fully. And it's not a case of tit for tat. What did the country benefit after an expenditure in just over 11 years?
Yeah.
$2 billion in legal fees. How much revenue the country got for that $2 billion expenditure? So we spent $2 billion to get how much? Did we get back in $4 billion? So we get back the 2 we spent and 2 extra. At least $3.5 billion. So we get back the 2 and get back a surplus of $1.5 billion. If those figures are not there to justify the expenditure, then I had to say it, and I mean this respectfully, but this could be interpreted as a higher level of eater food, right?
Of course, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Of course, that's what it is. I asked an attorney one time. I asked an attorney, and I will not call that attorney. I asked an attorney, and I said, well, you know exactly what's going on, and there's the allegations that this, that. I said to the capacity as a lawyer, Well, I had to eat her food too. Well, I nearly vomited.
Eat her food.
Right? But this is not just a food. This is eat out the whole country.
This is not a food. This is not to eat a food. This is to always have food wherever you go.
That is a waste food. That is a throwaway food.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? I know.
But the tit for tat part has to come in a little bit. And it's not that I'm going to say it for tit for tat. It is to draw comparison and to show how dishonest some people are with what they say. First of all, our cabinet that is trying to sell to this country every day that resources low, resources scarce, how they could sit down and approve that kind of money under this administration for legal fees? How you can do that? Where you get the money from to pay that?
Richie, here it is. I'm not going to call the person's name. 17 minutes ago, somebody sent me something on Facebook. Hi, good day, miss. Can you be of some assistance, please, please? I've been trying to reach out to anyone who can assist. Food, clothes, books, anything will help. Richie, how much of that I get there?
I can imagine.
Right? I have a lady say she go to everybody. She says, good morning. Don't forget me. See whatever you can do for me. This, that. And I'm telling you, you wake up and the government has no money. People didn't get their grants. They didn't get this. But the lawyer and them get paid, oh.
Yes. Yeah, they'll
hate me, but I have to stand up. They will hate me and kick me out of their fraternity or whatever the hell they may do, but I don't care. I don't care. Somebody has to stand up and talk the truth. That it is unacceptable. And what are the rules and regulations to prevent this from happening? I don't know. Billions? What if we spend 2 billion? If we spend billions on 2 billion on the road, give some of that as back pay to the public servants who ain't get their back pay. What about that?
That would be easy. That could make teachers so happy. So many other groups happy. Yeah. You just went with a few attorneys, and paid out almost $1 billion. I heard you said there one firm got $250 million, not so?
Yeah, well, it's under who? Because I could close my eye and just once I don't watch the year, I can't see too much of the difference of what was happening. One person, right? One person got $58,167,495.93. Our next one got 50 under now the PNM. Local firms, right? I guess the total 233 million. Right? I mean, this ain't small amounts, Rich. This ain't small amounts. With a small country like ours, this isn't small amounts. Right?
No, this isn't. It isn't, Mickela. It's not small amount. That's plenty money. That $200. So many bad roads in this country.
Correct. $200, Rich. There's a really good hamper that can hold somebody for about, let's say just about 2 weeks. 2 weeks or so, maybe a little bit, yes. $200. Now put those things into perspective of 2 billion. And then put it in your mind, close your eyes and think of it and put it into perspective of saying this country has 1.3 million people. And 2 billion was shared out within a handful of people. You expect people to accept that?
And both of them have lost. Yeah. That's why people have lost trust and confidence in this administration, and why they lost trust and confidence in the last one.
Mm-hmm.
Because
and it's so open.
Yeah. So because politically, this group criticized the last group. for one-ton spending and all kind of craziness. And after you criticize that, you're going to allow yourself to end up almost in the same place?
Correct.
So you were really only arguing when you were arguing because you weren't there to do it. You were vexed that you weren't the one doing it.
This is what I believe has been happening. And I want to believe, and this could be wrong, but it is just a personal belief, that you only vex when it's not you.
Yeah.
So you know all the answer in opposition. Either one of them, because I believe they're interchangeable. You have all the answers, and this is what they're doing. And to go and do the same thing means what? What does that say about you? What does that say about you? What does that say about your policy? What does that say about your
It says a lot.
I will tell you and lie to you and tell you what you want to hear.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
and then you say now the current AG, he got 13 million.
13, okay? So before he became the AG, so we're looking at again the September, well, the 2015 to 2022. And I'm saying he could very well, I don't know, I've never earned anything. Well, let's not even go there, because these days is only bygone on body and thing. People can't afford to pay. You understand what I'm saying? But this is state money we're talking about. This is taxpayers' money we're talking about. That's in the treasury. All right. You get 13 million, which you can probably very well justify. I would like him to. And maybe if he does that, it will set the precedent for all the others who got the 15 million and 50 million and what to do the same.
Yeah.
Foreign attorneys, this is under the VNM, got 63 million of our taxpayers' money every year. 2 times a year, you have 100 and something attorneys coming out. Right? What is the problem? Do we not have within the DPP, within chief states, the right lawyers, or is it that we need to pay them more, or are we not, are the outsiders brighter than us? Is that what it is? That they need to be paid 63 million of our taxpayers? We still need outside counsel? Really? Well, if we need outside counsel, no counsel here could justify getting 58 million, 50 million, 35 million, etc. Because you're clearly not good enough. That is our money going to somebody outside. And I'm saying, maybe that is what is needed. Maybe we really just don't have the expertise. Maybe we just don't have the specialist area covered. And we have to go to Britain or wherever else we go.
It's possible.
But then something ain't right.
Yeah, it would mean that we wasted our time and money here for so many years developing our legal system.
Well, and clearly, when we were selling our independence about that, when we were celebrating that.
When they're celebrating that, we were able to struggle and stay alive.
And still not be, but never be good enough.
Never.
Right? But never be good enough. But I'm telling you, there are attorneys in this country who are decent, good, hardworking people with great years of experience, much more than I have, that are not part of that. And maybe they should start widening the scope and giving people work also based on meritocracy. Maybe that might help. I don't know. But I'm telling you, this is too much.
That would always be useful, Mix. Yeah.
But Rich, we could go and get a pay for external opinions and thing, Rich. That's different to say that you have to bring, you know how many times you come down here and you've seen Queen's Counsel running this, Queen's Counsel, this, that. We have so much senior counsel.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to talk about this issue because it's lawyers. Right? But it doesn't make it any less fair. And I'm not saying it's just happening with an illegal fraternity. I am sure this is happening everywhere else, in every other sector, and probably worse. But that is where we are. Yeah, I have no doubt, because we never have any money. So surely if we don't have money, it's going somewhere. Surely.
Well, this is one of the places we know now a lot of money been channeled to. And the question is why?
Rich, I would be, and I'm telling you, I would be ashamed. If it was me, I would be ashamed. I could not hold my head up and walk the road. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And that is the divide in this society. Who have plenty, and who have, well, forget it. Forget it. And the level of unfairness and the promising that this is going to change, that's going to change, that's going to change. And you know, before we, you know, I also want to talk about local government and an issue going on there as well. But this is something that's very, very close to my heart, especially at the time that we see the public servants asking for their increase and
the money. They have a good relationship. Yeah, everything just flowing.
Yeah, it's I don't know, Daddy Mark, what you think about this? I know, quarreling.
I'm totally in agreement with you, and beside the divide that they're creating, they're not saying on what all this millions and billions were spent on that would have profited us. You're just saying that these people get briefs and they did work for the government to earn this kind of money, but they're not saying what they did. What was the subject matter? What was the case that was pending, and what it is they were working on, so that we'll say, well, oh gosh, that might have cost that. But when you think about it, that is a lot of money. And I know there are a lot of people and institutions that are falling apart, state institutions and state enterprises also, that are falling apart because of lack of money. And I always jump on the Lake Assault issue because I know that inside out. You know, and there's no assistance there. You know, they just deal with the people there as though they want to get rid of the workforce and probably change the whole game at a phenomenal cost also that would never ever be seen by the people who are working there. And that goes for other state enterprises also. And
exactly.
General public at large.
Everything comes down to, as we would spend our own money.
Yeah.
Did I get value for money? I went and I bought this so and I expended this amount in this. I had to buy a fridge. I buy a little bit more expensive one because it will last me for longer. If it shut down the day after, everything, that's what we do. When we want to spend our hard-earned money, right? We want to make sure we get value for money. That's right. What we want. And again, I'm not picking on lawyers. I'm a lawyer myself. I'm not picking on lawyers. It was what was in the newspaper yesterday or day before, and therefore it's what's right now in our face. But again, everything is, do the people, the hard-working taxpayers of this country, get value for money?
That's the question.
And if they are not feeling it, I mean, well, maybe we did. But again, what comes out of any of this? What comes out of any of this? Is the new Attorney General going to revise this issue? Have a look at this issue? I believe in the newspaper, forgive me, that I think he said he was going to. And I hope he does. I think he said that he was going to review it. AG promises to respond after reviewing the policy or something. But he's got to review himself too.
That's right, and that's after the fact.
And that becomes hard. That becomes a little bit difficult for me to, review myself. And that is why Trinidad, and not that simply that one reason, but that's why we are where we are. No accountability, no transparency, and we're going to do about it. Going back to where we had started, Mark, where we were saying, if something like this had come out in the UK, surely,
I tell you,
surely people are going to have to account.
That's right.
You're going to have to show and break down how exactly this was, or how you ended up spending this amount of money, and whether this was a priority or whatever. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
So it's come out as it came out before within the last administration, and nothing happened, and then nothing will continue to happen, and
then it will be forgotten.
It'll be forgotten. I think it has already.
Yeah.
Because now we're talking about the Commission of Inquiry. So I'll find one of them lawyers could have lent us some pens.
I tell you.
It could have lent us some pens. I think I would have been very grateful. Look at what we're saying. Look at what we're saying, that there are no pens.
You can imagine.
They'll go upstairs and borrow.
You can imagine that. Even the venue wasn't prepared. The original venue wasn't prepared, had to be shifted.
Yeah.
You're spending that kind of money, and that is to bring closure to some families who are still grieving about the deaths of the four divers. It seems as though they don't care about that. They're just looking at the process. That emotional part has nothing to do with them. If they're not, so long they've been talking about, it's been a long time since these guys drowned,
Well, we don't know even how up to now. That's how we're trying to find out, right?
Yes.
Sometimes you want to just know, would they? I hope it was quick. I hope they didn't go through pain. It's not just the moms, dads, brothers, sisters, cousins, his friends, his co-workers. There's hundreds of people that would have been affected.
Yes.
And you're starting this inquiry, which you told us you were going to start so long ago.
Yeah.
Right? When you start the inquiry, nothing in place.
The venue not ready. They don't have pens, paper.
So we started for.
So why couldn't they, based on the context of what we were speaking about, why couldn't they source that money? This is something very emotional, very traumatic, and all kind. You could have sourced that money. That's the kind of money they're paying briefs to lawyers. Jeez and ages. Well, I don't know. They don't care about the people.
And you can imagine, again, much more will be spent once again for another commission of inquiry, which I hope something will come out of, because ever so often you have this, which costs a lot of money as well.
Yes.
And I hope something will come out of it, and it just doesn't have this report that just goes absolutely nowhere and nothing happens and we just move on.
Yeah.
Rich is still with us there.
They could have compensated.
Yes.
Okay.
They could have compensated
I miss you.
the drivers without going through all this.
No, I listened to the analysis.
Commission of inquiry and all of that. You know what I mean? What I'm saying is that they could have tried to compensate the people in some kind of comforting kind of way. Let them feel comfortable that, okay, we got some compensation on for these guys' families and all of that. But like none of that is in the picture. We have to go through this commission of inquiry that might go on for months also before we reach to some kind of closure. The kind of monies that will be spent here, the kind of money that we are talking about now that was spent already, I mean, we could have satisfied the people's compensation, or the whatever they think could be compensated. You know what I mean? And they just, you only hear about these kind of millions, and they say that they don't have money for this, they don't have money for that, they have to tax we and tax we and tax we and tax. Well, I don't understand that at all. That's why I'm not going to vote for any of them. I'll vote for you or Watson Duke or somebody else. None of them. None of the above.
It's too much, man. It's too much. The one survivor, poor guy, can't pay legal fees and all this kind of thing. Come on, there's a way that things can be done with some level, starting back with some grace. This is one person, and it is so clinical.
Yeah.
The way it's being done. And like I said, okay, we was thankful that it had actually started. But has it? We can't start yet. We can't do this. And while this is happening, money flowing, not in the right direction.
That's right.
Rich, I miss you. Let me hear you on this.
Yeah, you hear me?
Perfect. Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm not going. I'm trying to get to the laptop still.
Okay,
So
no problem. Well, when you
minute
get it.
away. I don't know if you all could continue for
Sure,
1
sure.
minute. Let me get,
No, we'll
okay.
continue. We'll
Yeah,
continue
yeah.
while you organize. Yes, Arimak. So I was saying to you, it is these kinds of things that in my mind leads to people's frustration.
Exactly.
Right? And that is why people cannot understand, and I agree because I don't understand myself. You don't understand on one hand, you do not believe anything they say on another hand, because these numbers that I'm calling out, let me make very clear, they're coming from my head or some secret source. I don't practice bus mark politics, so that is not what it is at all. This is numbers that came out when the question was asked in Parliament, I think when PNM was in opposition, and then through a Freedom of Information request. So you're under legal obligation to provide this information, which was then obviously given to the newspaper who published it. So this is real, because to the average person, this sounds mad.
I tell you.
This sounds like we in Harry Potter land, or some kind of unreal situation where when you're signing those checks, nothing don't click and say, this ain't feeling too right. Do you not question these level of peace? Again, maybe it is. Look at all these numbers here. Every time I say that, my chest is hit me even more. 10 foreign attorneys who earn more than 1 million each receive approximately 63 million in total.
Right.
Jamaica born, yes, Queen's Council, that Queen's Council. So million more were paid to foreign and local firms. I mean, you really have to ask yourself, there ain't no love for people of this country. Boy, sometimes when people just run, and go, you understand. Look at crime, right? I continuously bring up 2009, I sat in the parliament in the opposition and voted with the government to pass the DNA bill. We know DNA since the 1980s is a way for crime detection. It is technological advancement. We understand that. We don't have a lab.
Imagine that.
So we can't stop. When we found Akil Chambers, my little boy, when they found him, right time that sad week, we have cases being solved. Sorry, Mark. 100 years later and all kinds of things abroad, right?
Yes.
20, 25 years and things like that. We don't have that. We're talking about investing in CCTV cameras, right? You don't see none of that. Ministry of National Security. Okay, so we see some new vehicles, right? That's what we need. But we are talking about the hundreds throughout the country that is just parked now.
That's right.
Some of them were just a dent. Some of them were just a dent. Right?
Yeah.
So I am saying to you, waste, mismanagement, and I am brave enough to turn around and say corruption.
Yeah.
And this is why, yes, we could have turned an eye, which we have done in the past. But now when you're at your wits' end financially, your kid has not gone to school for 2 years and now still can't go to school because you don't have the money for the uniform.
I tell you.
You don't have the money for the books. Right? We talk about when my father was there, and I was damn proud of it, so I'll say it. You standardize the books.
Yes.
Poor children have a right to go to school as well, no?
Exactly.
Single parents have a right to send their children to school too, no? And we never have, and this is where Richie and I always had, we never have enough for nobody, but we have for some.
Yes.
If you don't have what you have for nobody, that's all right, and we'll all tighten our belts and do what we have to do.
Exactly.
But you can't be spending this level of money. You cannot be spending this level of money. And I'm sorry when those names came out. There are many of them that I know well and know personally, but I have to say, I would have felt shame if I was there. I would have said, oh dear God. Could you imagine? Right, so we got $60 million.
I tell you.
That's only 5 years of work, huh?
I tell you.
That's don't forget, me working for more than 27 years. That's only for 5. I got 6 there. So some people out here in this country richer than God. Right? We can't fix the road. We ain't getting information. What's going on with Lake Alfred? We don't know what happened to our brothers and sisters down there. I sure is read papers.
Yeah.
They ship it. And when they wake up early, and they say, right, that they had to go to work and they get something to eat and drink a cup of tea and they see $1 billion in legal fees. How must people feel?
I tell you.
You know, Trinis are either totally, or the Trin Begonias are either totally browbeaten, or we just give up. Maybe we just give up and say, you see, because nothing ever happens. Nothing.
Exactly.
Allegation after allegation. I've seen people directly been asked questions and they come up with, it was my birthday. I don't know if you know what I talked about there, but $3 million in your account. It was my birthday.
Yes.
Oh, I wish I had parents like that.
Yes.
I had parents and friends like that. It was my birthday. Are you serious? Allegation after allegation even within the public service. Let's not forget, we forget too quickly of people on top. You have judges who have overseen reports and said things, and what?
Nothing comes out of it.
And everybody in this country knows that, and nothing will. And the question is, who is just waiting or sitting, may I dare say, sitting in the wings, waiting for their turn to do the same?
Exactly. Yeah, I've been asking myself that too.
And there must be, you have to find a way to sift out who is real, who is true, who is honest, who has integrity, and who really there for the right reason.
That's right. That's right.
Right? There's my boy. I don't go on to my video without my friend, you know.
Like that.
There's my friend. I can't be without him on the video. Right.
Yes.
Hi, Richie Rich. Oh, you're looking sharp today. You try to outdo me. Unmute.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Yes, not as good as you, Mix. Not as good as
sharp. You. Look at that sharp haircut.
No, it's true. I had a haircut.
You see? You thought I wouldn't recognize it. So anyway, Richie.
Yeah. But it's always a pleasure to be here to speak, on these current issues with the most beautiful female political leader this country has ever had. So that's why you saw I was paused all the time. I was hustling home to get my camera on because they won't put on yours until mine comes on. I can't fault you for that.
Yes.
But I also know the viewers that we have all over the world, they wanted me to come on to make sure you could come on so they could see you too. Yes. So here she is, folks. Here she is.
Yes. And here's this gorgeous young man here with his saga boy haircut.
Yes, I'll take that. But
looking good.
Okay.
Yes, Richie Rich. So we need to hear you.
Yeah, on these matters, with this money matter, it to me is an abuse of funds. It's an abuse of the process. It signals to me a huge degree of selfishness in the context that, once I am the one doing it, everything is okay with it. But if it's somebody else doing it, suddenly you get right overnight.
Go ahead, Rich. You're frozen up there.
Rich got frozen.
Yeah.
I think what he's saying is, you know,
things they had to say about the former administration came up. Daddy Mac, makes pause.
No, go ahead. You pause for a while.
Oh, it was me. Okay,
Yeah,
I did.
yeah.
All right. Yeah. You pick him up good.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so it is most disheartening and hypocritical of some people to put out there, the former administration spent so much money. It was a lot of money. No one doubted that. It was a lot of money. But then how you could come and allow yourself to end up in the same place? Right. What have you won to justify that expenditure to the people of Trinidad and Tobago? If you spend 200 million and you realize nothing happening, why you go and spend almost 800 million more? Why? How come legal fees in such a way became such a huge priority? For whom? For whom? You can't find money for no other meaningful thing in this country. Nothing else. Everything is subject to the availability of funds. But the windfall Richard Quest spoke about, you could have found it to pay them. So you have a windfall that is very selective in this country. You have a selective windfall. You have money for when you say you want to divide the country. You're going to give healthcare workers money, but leave the rest to suffer. You have money for that. Selective money. But when the small man calling you to give him a CPEP or URP, wean yourself off the government and all this kind of old talk. The people must say, this type of nonsensical politics must be brought to an end. And I believe coming up to 2025 must be the time when this country signals that type of antiquated politics must go somewhere else.
It has to.
Yeah. We want something new at the top of this
country. Richie, you said CPEP, right? And something triggered in my mind. Sure. Millions and billions spending on that. Not for the CPEP workers, Because from the time they start to talk, many of them come to me, from the time they start to talk, you ain't getting no work next week, You ain't getting no work next week, But you have the same people with 3 and 4 and 5 CPEP gangs. I don't like that word at all, but that's what they call it. But CPEP gangs. Counselors. Right? Millions. You could build a house. You could get swimming pool. You could do that. And you're paying them the little bit of money. And dare you say anything. You ain't getting no work next week.
Yeah.
So you see, we have.
No,
you have to build houses.
Yeah.
So much you have that you could let all the houses that we have, which we spoke about, Richie, rot. Aruka, South, Golconda.
All about houses just stand up there like white elephant, as they say.
But we have. Can't be that we don't have. Because what you're telling me is you're now going to build more. I don't know if it's fixed now, but I was trying to help Princestown Primary. People in church, children in church, children in temple. You had all this time to fix and repair schools. Come on. You had time to fix and repair schools. You have no money. You had more than enough time. You had 2 years. Schools were the first things to close, along with the borders. School closed first, I want to believe. Yeah. And you're saying to yourself, so we had no money to do that, to fix these schools, for the kids, to make it a safe environment. We had no money to do that. We had no money to clean the drains and dredge the water courses before the rainy season, which now moves towards giving us more floods. We had no money to fix the roads.
Yeah.
So the road is just, there's some roads are just impossible at this moment. So we had no money for that. But we did have money for certain things. And again, I know people will not be happy. I'm not singling out the legal profession. I am simply saying, because like I said, I had it right here in front of me. It was on the newspaper. And it was the headline. And I said, we're going to see each other. And it has to be something that we speak about. because $2 billion is a lot of money.
Of course.
A lot of money. You have policemen. I know people always knock the police, but where good work is being done, and it should be said as well, but who don't have the right kit. I know firemen and women we are expecting to run into fires, who don't have the right equipment to go. That's what I'm talking about. Policemen, firemen and women, teachers, nurses, people that keep this country running, that keep us alive, that keep us moving, that keep us breathing, growing. And I'm sorry, I can't see that legal fees takes a priority. I just can't see it. I can't see it. And I find it painful. I find it disingenuous. And that is why people don't believe. And that is why, Rachel and Darimak, that when you come to talk about election, all you can talk is race. And who thief, and who thief more, and who thief less, and who do this, and who do that, and who was with who wife, and who was touching who on the plane. Because what else can you say?
Nothing else. And you see, these two parties believe they have figured out the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Mm-hmm. They now have a model to get their group to the polls. So it doesn't matter how either of them govern. It doesn't matter how they govern. When it's election time, like we saw happening in Sandy Grande, and then of course on the front page of the Guardian, I want to say here as I sit here today, I'm in politics for some time now.
Yeah.
And I will not be surprised if that was not an accident. Because I know what it is like to get something in the newspaper, even news, to be a front page story. I want people to understand that. Let me go at the history of that.
Are we talking about this?
Yes. You see the front page? Very good.
Yeah.
I was a councillor in San Juan Laventil Regional Corporation when they had put URP under it, right?
Yeah.
Fellas sent home the police officers, and they came in the chambers.
Yeah.
While we were there in a statutory meeting, and they pull about 14 guns on us. Right? They say if no councillor could move, everybody, hand in the air. That's how they had us. It's like this was in Parliament. And
this is crazy.
Yeah. And pull gun and say no one could move. And that because they came, because they say how long they wanted to see the URP and this, that, and this group feel left out. They came there with a radical squad and sent home the police, and the police went home. It's not like the police went home. The police obeyed. Yeah. They went home. The police accepted the instructions and left. And while we debating in the chambers, we see the door kick open, and a line of persons, all of them armed with big guns, and they each one stood up behind every councillor, formed the circle, and they're telling you face forward, they can't look back. So you don't know who could be shot or who going to be shot or what time they're going to.
That's trauma beyond.
We went and we spoke on the radio about it. We did all kind of things. It never got a front page. Never got front page. Now, if you compare that, what we experienced, compared, and I know you already know people like Nazimol from Aranguez, El Socorro.
Yeah.
He was there. The other councillor from Aranguez itself. And then you had many others from Laventil and so on and so on. We were all held up at gunpoint. And we went.
But I'm embarrassed to tell you, I don't think I know that.
I know, because let me tell you, it couldn't even make the news as much as we tried. People felt, well, URP and people with guns. They just play that down. Here you have a young lady, an African woman, saying, behaving like the old N, as they say, which in the African community is a normal thing. It is a normal thing. We make fun of it. And any part of the world, if I go to France and I meet people from the same ethnic group as I am, they say, what's up? And you understand what I'm saying? You go to
America as well.
It's all about normal. And so we have changed that N word to mean something differently to us in the African community. So it doesn't affect us when it is said to us by ourselves in our community. Equally, the Indo community with the C word, they too, I have gone to bars and drink and I would hear they're making fun among themselves, calling one another that to some extent. But you don't expect another group to do that. That is for them because
then it's coming from a different place.
That's it. It's coming from a different place. Exactly. Well expressed. Well expressed. It's coming from a different place. If somebody looking like me say it to me, I guess the part of the understanding or reasoning would be, well, however you meant it, when you call me it, you can apply
You're calling yourself.
Yeah, exactly so. So in each group, you can call it a subcultural expression, whichever group it is. It happens in all other groups, you know, the German group, the British group. You go out there, for example, the white British people and the Irish people. There are certain things the white British people cannot say about the Irish people. And there are some things I want to tell you, the Irish people, they are not even begin to contemplate thinking about the British people. You understand? But yet they look alike. So you find they have these differences. So what am I saying? It was a non-issue really. When you have someone from the same ethnic group saying something like that, it would have been insensitive in the forum in which it was expressed, because you'll call it a professional place. It had no
That's
place
what my issue is, correct?
Yeah, it had no business there. And I get that. Correct. But did it deserve a front page? I would say no. So then why was it on the front page? To get something on the front page, it had to be something really outrageously important for that to make front page. Because normally I was talking to two colleagues up to this morning in the papers, print media, and they say front pages are normally done a day, 2 days, sometime, you know, in advance. And explain, they have these days because you must have a front page in the paper. So like tomorrow, you might have two big competing stories. What you do? You might play down one, you still got the story, put it in a corner, and you go with the one you think to be bigger for today. Now, if nothing big happens today for tomorrow, the one that came second will be the first one tomorrow. Yeah. To be bigger. So they always have that. So to shift that, it means if something really compelling had to happen and reach in time, let's work out the time factor now. Remember, you had to do graphics and all these things to get it done right. Wherever the story is, that takes time. You want to tell me that was said in the corporation at a particular time to reach a particular media house by a certain time, where they could do research to find out, to get a picture of the counselor among other counselors and other people. That, you know what research? That couldn't make it. The same day it was said, by 1 o'clock the next morning, a.m., you had headlines. And I want to tell you all, if you look at the papers that did it, I want you to listen at it. If you look at the papers that did it, and the people who would want to have that done, to pull all the people who look like me back to support a particular person who we seem to have turned away from, understand the line. The only way they believe they could get people who looking like me to come back to support that particular individual is to stir up that kind of nonsense. To pull all, and look how far this will go, and I'm saying it here today. It was said as it was said, right? But you're going to get a broad brush approach now. You're going to hear people going in and saying that's how they think in that party. It's not just her, you know, all of them like that. And they would play on that and extend it and extend it. And what they will be discussing, what they will be doing is fanning the race issue. You understand? Because they know if it's one thing they could do to get people to box themselves together, to vote in a particular way, is to deal with a racial issue. I want to say to our people today, Africans on this part in Trinidad and Tobago, I mean, we have long gone past the time, but I still have to say the time has come, where you can't allow people to cause you to vote on emotions. When someone could sit down somewhere with 2 or 3 or 5 people and concoct something that causes all of us to run and vote in a particular way, what they're saying is that they vote for us. We don't have the power over ourselves. We don't have independence anymore. They believe they're good enough to do that, to cause you to drop all the negative experiences through the issues that you had to deal with over the last 5-7 years. They believe they could just come up with one issue that will cause you to become a no-brainer to all the suffering you went through, and just run and do one thing on emotions. And as I get the vote from you see, we are saying to them, when they could get us to vote like that they could govern how they want. We could say whatever we want. When they're ready for our vote, they know the knob to push. They're going to get someone to push that knob for them. People have to investigate these things. When you see people do those things, look at how they're living after. Check them out a year or 2 after, and you realize what they got to do, what they did. You understand that? And notice when these things happen, our listeners, notice when these things happen. They happen just before an election, or during an election 3 or 4 days before the election itself.
Yeah.
Why this didn't happen 5 months ago? This lady in that corporation didn't know that that was the wrong place to talk like that.
Well, this is what I want to ask you, right? Newspapers, as we know, very much like online we call it clickbait, right? You see some kind of heading and then you press. One is a very sensitive time. So the issue of whether and how it's said and how it's accepted, whatever, whether the Indians do it in a certain way or the Africans do it in a certain way, my issue is that it is the wrong place and you're a leader. You're an alderman in a corporation. At the end of the day, you're alderman in a corporation. I don't think that we should minimize that, because it is the leadership throughout this country that we are missing. Let us say, I think it could have been very easily diffused if the leader condemned it.
I think so.
Right?
And I hope the leader does that, to take that off the table as an issue going into the future. Yeah.
Exactly.
And so having said that, I want to commend the chairman of the Sandy Grande Corporation. I think he handled it like a genuine professional. He almost sounded as though he prepared to break ranks because, and that's what you have to do. And I hope others join with him and condemn the councillor for that.
You have to condemn that kind of behavior. And it ain't a joke when I see you and I look like you and I see you, yeah, brother. No, this is a different situation. We were talking last week about the Prime Minister when he said, well, at least if that happened to me, I ain't going to bring no gun to shoot anybody. We bring it on to this situation. We say that young people are listening. It was a headline. That is not acceptable. It is not acceptable for you as a leader to speak like that. On top of that, there were other councillors who were cheering her on. Okay, this is how it was reported. And I am simply saying, to diffuse that situation, the leader needs to come out, as she has come out on many other occasions for things that are less important, and condemn that and say that the party does not agree with that, and the party outright condemns that kind of language and behavior in office, whatever office that is. Because we saw that the leader did come out. I think what was and abuse. Well, let me not say abuse, but spoke out about Samuel Sanker, who was the Kelly Village Warrenville councillor who went to the meeting that the local government minister had called to talk about the local reform bill. So there is no reason at this time, especially with local government, for the leader not to address this. And I call upon her and say to her that I think to not make this a bigger issue than it needs to be, as you were saying, Rich, but it is still important enough that she condemns it. Because not everything is a joke. And you're right, it got a headline. And the interesting thing is, what you see underneath is Carrier Fuel diving tragedy, COE starts today. think that was more of a headline, probably.
That should have been. And if you go to the Express, what was the Express headline on that day? I think if it get Express, that might have been theirs.
I think the Express was the Commission of Inquiry.
Yes, that would have been because so long people calling for it. Yeah. But notice they play that down. They play that down and they want to magnify the N word. And you had to ask yourself,
that's how it works.
Yeah. You see, they try. Hear what the papers tried to do there, and whoever may have done it in that way to galvanize the support, and they know who they're supporting. I think it's the one I suspect who they're supporting, and it's no accident. You just had to figure it out. You just had to look.
And we know who the other one is supporting. It's no accident. It's easy to figure out.
You can work it out. You know, and you just had to ask yourself, the best journalist I think this country has ever had, I think his name is Basant. What's his name? From TV6, he go on Vasant.
Oh, Mark Basant.
Mark Basant. Just like that, Mark Basant left the station where he made a mark that had the greatest amount of viewership when it comes to news and things, and gone to somewhere else that seemed to have far less, but still good because you see them as the two dominant players. And since he gone across there, things to be investigated, it seemed like we have a serious shortage. At a time when it has so many, the difficulties which one to pick. But he had none.
But one of my girls, I don't know, has been said, I've been following her, and she's leaving as well, and she's a great investigative journalist as well. Yes. She's from the other paper.
Yes. Who got that job
she does
well. Who got that job for her in the Caicos Island, whatever?
Turks and Caicos, and she's leaving, and the lady does well. I think her, to be fair, I read through what I try to do as neutral eyes and not feeling emotional on any way or form. And I think that she writes well. I think she explains the story well. She in terms of defamation, she's careful to cover all the bases and ask her, and I think she does well. But that is what it is. It is what it is. But the ones, the usual kids on the block who we know writes for a certain one, or we know writes for the other one, it's the same thing. So what is it? What is the journalism? What is the journalism? It is what it is. I just hope that people can see through things and not like the bacchanal so much that you lose focus. But again, what else do you have to speak about?
Yeah, I am seeing. I want to say the good news is the effect those papers had long ago on informing people's opinion and so on. The people who will determine the outcome of election these days, they don't pay too much attention to papers anymore, you know. You get them on social media. That is where the real conversation is taking place now. This is more effective to the millennials who will be the voting bank this time around. The millennials, people who born between mid-1980s to just over 2000. That's a big portion of the vote now that they have in the center. So run into the papers and trying to manipulate that outcome and so on. You still hold a few with it, but that now is nothing compared to what's happening on social media. And therefore, when you do that on papers, when you believe you're informing as many people as you once did, you are seriously mistaken and misinforming yourself and therefore misguiding yourself. The action now is on social media. And those people on social media, I believe the vast majority of them, they had their own opinion, they make up their own mind long time, and they stop listening to it. Or look, for example, the Prime Minister government, we should have sent the Minister Energy and a team to do what is being done now. When you go and negotiate those things, you send the Prime Minister, it makes us look as though we really need these people to come on board. And therefore, we give them the leverage over us, so therefore we surrender any leverage we could have had. Whereas it's better if he had stayed here, see how serious they are, let our minister and our other officials make arrangements for them to come here and meet the Prime Minister in the diplomatic center, where they could say they could arrange a meeting and he would solidify it at that time. But you outside there, pretending and posturing like you're signing and negotiating. The last time you did it and you say you sign up the deal, and it's you who did the gas price and this and that. When they came here and they run the calculation, they realized it was a terrible calculation, and Trinidad and Tobago was hemorrhaging money in a big way. You know what we heard after? He said, well, it was the technocrats, it wasn't me. You're going back out there negotiating again when you should be here, right? But I'm saying that to say this, Mix. Who is sending the footage of the Prime Minister walking around and looking at plant and so on to get it into the news for a whole segment every night? About 5 minutes, you see this thing with the Prime Minister. Since when that happened so quickly? Who's out there doing all this and getting it straight to a journalist for the journalist to put it out?
Rich, we are, I know how you feel, but we have to be a little fair too. It is a PR war. These things happen easily, and I'm sure he worked with his team.
No, I want to know, did they carry a journalist, or is it a journalist waiting on somebody?
Of course, you can have a journalist waiting, and they always have one there. You know, you're like, give me. I want a headline. You know, I want to bust him up. If somebody there, we could take our phone and do it and send
but
the video
the work
via
that is
WhatsApp.
being done, Mix, it's like a promotional activity. It's not news. It's like they're promoting. When you look at the segment, I know you would have a system that could pull back up the news. Look at the news last night and the night before. Because I look at it in a way where I can speed it up. I just run through. I don't want to see. I want to see a story. I listen.
It's campaigning.
Yes, but why? How come they're campaigning into the news? I know it's when a politician says something uplifting or really outrageously that will make news. Fine.
I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying that it's right. But what happens is you're using that opportunity to do it, and you are at an advantage being the Prime Minister because you can do it.
Yeah, well, I think that
we know what journalism in this country is, and I'm not saying all, but we know.
No, we have,
and we have discussed this before together, and we said, own it. You know who CNN supports.
You as a political leader, if you had said they thief the gate up by the airport, right? If you had said that they thief the gate, you know what I had journalists up there saying, look, the gate here, no. No gate has been stolen. No gate has been stolen. The airport, and then they put a whole big news there. The Mix losing her head or what? Where she get her news for? So they're trying to say, yeah, she's unbelievable. She have no credibility. So how come? Well, I tell you, I drive up there. I spoke to
check on the gate.
Yes, I spoke to 2 airport authority officials.
It's not the gate.
Apparently, they didn't know about it. So I said, I heard the scrap metal workers. They took the gate, and people could have just go to the tanks that hold the aviation fuel. The whole place could have been. I said, where come? I said on social media, it's not true. I came to see. He said, don't take on them social media stupidness. Who can move them gate? He said, which gate? And he point. This one, the first one, he point. He say, who gonna move that gate? Oh, and look at how much people on camera. Who can do? They're crazy or what? No, don't take on them. That'd be drunk. That'd be mad. Okay, I said, all right. Didn't tell him nothing. Tell him because I say if I only say the PM say so next thing I will hear, oh, they did take a gate.
They may have been a gate from somewhere. I'm not sure.
I had to go about it strategically. I said no social media, so I come to check it out. They said so when he left, I talked to another guy in the kind of khaki uniform. I said, partner walking down there told me no one stole a gate up here, the scrap metal dealers. And I told him I said I was 102. And I want to get this story because it's on social media and I want to discuss it today. He said, no. He said, what's your name? I said, Noray. He said, I listen to you and Skippy, man. I said, I want the thing. I want to see the gate. I want to see the gate. He said, no, tell me. What gate? I said, you don't know they stole a gate? He said, they stole a gate? I said, yes, it's a big gate that would lead it to where that prevents people from accessing the tanks that hold aviation fuel. He started stupid. Come, you're crazy. Who can, they move that gate? They can move that gate? I listened. I said, you sure then? He said, who tell it? I said, social media. He said, who's the person on social media? I said, I can't remember. I got it from the news department. So I said, when I heard it, I just decided I checking it out one time because right there in Twin City Mall. So I said, I'm just bust it up here and check it out one time. He said, nah. Tell them, every time I give me instructions. He said, go back and tell them you spoke to an official here who could tell them no such thing happened up here. I said, sir, well, I will take your word over social media. You are here and you would know. He said, if I will know. I said, well, all right. Thank you.
Perception is reality, even if it's not real.
Yeah. And I'm not a journalist. My point is, you tell me a journalist couldn't go up there and get that story properly.
Rich, here is one, right? So I used to write for a particular newspaper for about 2 years. Sunday, at one stage, the main column, and then I saw a little demotion down. I thought Friday was great. It was my issue. I held one meeting, 2018. And I held this meeting of which I didn't even speak. I called it an open forum. And asking people, because people were feeling that they didn't get a chance to use their voice and things. So many different things came up. And the question was, do you think a new political party should be formed? That's not all that we spoke about. A girl came using the opportunity to talk to us about domestic violence and what she was going through and all kinds of things we talk about, right? Lo and behold, I get an email. We're going to have to terminate this contract with you. I was like, this is strange. Because you're forming a political party and so and politicians can't be. And I said, but I'm not forming any political party. In my mind, I'm thinking, this is crazy. If I make political commentary, like, but there was nothing about me doing that. And that was it. They terminated me on no grounds at all. Yet you have other people who are politicians who write commentaries all the time.
Yeah, they had
people who are people who are senators. You have former ministers, all kinds of things.
But there's another person who formed his own party and he has a column.
And he has a column.
Yeah.
But I saved that email and I said, look at this now. But if it's not for me, it's not for me. I'm not going to fight down anybody on that. But it is the honest to God's truth. A meeting. I didn't say I formed no party and this, and I didn't. You're looking at nearly the end of 2019. We were going talking to people, and I called it a meet and greet, and people talk, and we talk about all kinds of different things. And they terminated me because when you see 600-700 people there, you get scared. That's what happened in a non-election time. Is that what happened? Because the grounds on which you terminated my contract were not real. It was crazy. But I'm telling you again, and I only say so insofar as if you have your political stance or wherever you are, own it. CNN owns it. Fox owns it.
Yes. And that's the problem, you know.
I believe that this is the person. I believe that this is the correct party. I believe this. That's fine. But the level of unfairness, there's certain journalists, you know exactly where they're coming from. Do you think that people listen? There's certain people who will get certain documents. Right?
Yeah.
And us, people who are in the media, like, we know. But own it. I would own it. But yeah, those are things that happen. I didn't speak about it and I didn't feel any need. I needed to move on to a new chapter in my life, which I did. And they maybe have encouraged me to do it.
Yes, sometimes when they think, you know, what was intended for your harm was actually for your good.
For your good.
Because they may have forced you to start your party.
Yeah, because now I'm thinking, oh God, I'm going to look bad.
And then if you make it to where you're aiming to go, look back at the person who fired you and write them and tell them thank you.
Yes, I must do that. I must do that. I must do that. But you know, these poor guys and them, I know that things come from higher. I never asked to write for this paper. This paper approached me. And they said to me, so and so, and this and that. And I said, sure, great. opportunity to speak and all of that. But how quickly it happened. So they, what do we call mainstream media, except radio, I guess, because everybody always have their radio on in the car. You can't be on your phone when you're in your car and all this kind of thing, right? And like my mom always have a radio on in the kitchen. So you're always hearing, what's going on. But in terms of papers and things, circulation and all of that has shown to be down. Because young people watching Loop, they watch Izzo, TikTok coming out of it, all kinds of things.
And that's where they're getting the news from.
Yeah. And they're getting it with satire as well. Eh?
Yeah, they're not even interested in the methodology used to capture the news that is being delivered through the social media. That is the news, and then they bounce it off with their friend and they feel, I believe that, yes. So there's no research behind it. And they're good. They're good.
Correct,
they find 12 people saying this, and they like 4 of the 12 people, they're joining too. And that's how it is. And I said that is the type of political environment that we are into now.
Yeah.
And I could say all that papers thing and manipulation and what they're trying. That would have worked.
Let them do it, come on. Let them do it.
10 years and more going backwards. But not today. Not today. That is hard. That is a hard sell. And as you said, papers, the numbers dropping in terms of circulation. Significantly.
Yeah.
And a lot going online now. I get mine that way. And how many of the youngsters had time to read papers online or buy it? And now on top of that, the price of the paper going up. So now $4 per person is better to go and buy doubles or get some other meal or something.
Correct.
Yeah. Because
but some people like to have a physical paper.
Yeah.
A physical paper to kind of hold
the older people.
The hard copy. Yeah. So that my father does the same thing. And I said, boy, you still this paper and wasting money and thing. But he say I gain it for the crossword.
That's your father.
Yeah.
Oh, he would say that. He would say that.
I say, okay, boy. Okay, boy. Yeah. So
I take it on my phone and it allows me to go through it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I see this. Let me tell you, I read the papers now, I think in less than 5 minutes, unless you go to the editorial. Unless you go by looking at the first part, that the news I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
I mean, go through this, you see the headline, surely it's a story I saw before. It just happened to somebody else now. How many people? What's the murder told now? Look like they take it off the papers.
I feel they take it off because I say,
all the time,
too much.
Suddenly it's approaching an unbelievable number. Like, notice they're not calling the figure now. Before they're saying 2 persons murdered, 300 for the year. 1 person murdered, that pushes it to 340. And so when they give you the murder, they tell you what the total is right. The total is right after. Now.
No, we have live broadcast, 74 days to the live broadcast of FIFA World Cup.
Yeah.
That's what we have now.
Yeah. So they drop that. So you know what? Somebody on top say, no, this out of control. So pull that off. In other words, that's the news we should be getting now. But they decide what we will be fed as news. So people are right to reject those things. You can't have a small group of people feeding this country what they consider to be news and not the news we must work with. That means they are thinking for us. You have to think for yourself and do your own research. So when you see what you see, like that papers with the headline and the counsel who said what's here, I see, to me, it's no accident. And when we talk about the percenters, well, I have an idea who did it. So I have nothing more to say. And we know who the percenters back in, because the percenters have never had it so good before. Now, I say that with full respect and love to the percenters. Meaning, I would have been happy if we had it like that too.
You were saying placenters, I was thinking, who's the placenta?
No, I just tried to say it in a way that people could understand.
No, Richie, I thought you said placenta.
No, that is something. Oh, no. That is not something that women have in them that feeds the baby when,
Of course.
I'm
teasing you. Of course we know.
Okay, yeah. That. And those percenters, I want to say if it's 5 or 9, 3, 0, or 1. I ain't getting into that, but they would know what they have to do to keep things the way they are so that they'll continue benefiting us there.
Which is
And
this
that's their
anything
strategy
new?
and they're right. That's their strategy and they're right.
And
but
hasn't it always been that?
I think it has never been as good as it is now.
No, what I'm saying is, haven't we been going through this continuously? You see it during election time. You see it even more than, but you know, look, I say, let us sometimes you just have to close out the noise and just focus on what needs to be done. What is your duty? I speak for myself. What is my duty? What is my responsibility? What it is I have to do, and focus on that. So we say focus on the eye of the bird, and sometimes you just have to lock off the noise, just lock it off, and at other times even laugh it off and forge forward and do what you have to do, because until things genuinely change, and it changes at the top, we can't expect anything to filter through or for there to be any kind of domino effect. It will continue. But people are seeing, and we're here to talk to them and not mold or guide their opinion, but for them to really listen to facts, listen to statistics and the truth, and guide your think a little bit, critical thinking. You know, think a little bit, talk it through with your friends, your linemen, your family, your this, and say, is it really that? And think and come to some kind of decision of whether you're willing to accept these things to continue the way that it is. And I think by 2025, everybody would have had enough.
Yeah, I think so. And I hope people would have been fully well informed about the experience over the last 7 years now. And that all of us know, with the exception of just some others who, for some reason, they'll pretend they're unaware of it. The governance has been really, really terrible. And that's just a fact. That's just a fact. Anyhow you swing it. You can't tell me after 7 years you couldn't turn the economy around. You couldn't tell me after 7 years you don't have a vision for the country. You can't tell me after 7 years you couldn't fix road, or you couldn't get food prices down, or cost of living more manageable, or to help people improve the quality of their lives. These are basic things. You have suffered the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And whether you're bad lucky, or you didn't know what to do, or you're still learning on the job, or you're trying your best, but your best just ain't good enough, any of those reasons would tell us after 7 years, you had a long enough period to produce something positive for the country. It hasn't worked out. We need to change direction. We need to change direction. And that's the long and short of it. He could go all over the world. He could come like Superman and fly. Well, of course, if you do that, he might get my vote, because
and mine too.
I tell you, you could fly things into the country that could help us all. But I know that ain't gonna happen. But it may require something like that we'll have to do magically to pull people back to say they're galvanizing their support behind it. But I'm saying we need something new. And we'll continue the conversation as we go forward.
Yeah, and we will forge on. We will forge on.
Yeah, I know we are a little over the news, but once it's mixed on, you're a political leader, it appears as though we all agree to give Mix more time. The final word.
I'm going to bring it down again simply to what we began talking about. We need to get a little bit more accountability and transparency in this country. We have the government who is there right now, and that which is to come in the future must be honest, open, and transparent, and accountable to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And if not, we as the people must demand it. We cannot be promising something in opposition and going there and doing something different. What is the definition of madness? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So people, I can just ask our viewers or listeners, just think a little bit. The information is there for you to see. Think a little bit and ask yourself, what do you deserve? And if you deserve what's happening to you today, my answer is no. This country and the people of this country deserve better than what it's getting. So please have a good evening and be safe.
A shout out to Paul Richards Ruben Mohammed and Melissa. You always talk to me and Daddy Mac, but they're the ones who work behind the scenes.
Ruben! Hi, shout out to Ruben, Melissa, my darling. That's my sister. That's my sister. I got worried about her today. I was texting, I didn't hear from her. And that's how we live in this country, right? When you don't hear from somebody, it's not you were busy doing something. Is, oh God, I hope nothing has happened. Like a Debbie Downer. But and to Ruben and Paul, my good friend. Yes, shout out to you all. Lots of love. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here with you all. I deeply appreciate it. I really do.
Creating the opening to have you on. Yeah.
Yes.
In a genuine breath of fresh air.
When everybody was trying to get rid of me.
They will start calling for you again, Mix. They will start calling for you again. You'll be able to leverage them.
I leverage them. Or I will for you to leverage them for me, the way the parents should be doing it right now.
First thing I'm beginning with, first of all, we're negotiating on the basis of the fact that she's the most beautiful political leader I've ever had. That alone comes to a lot of money.
Next thing they put you out the room. But you ain't really come here with nothing. That's where you come with.
No, that's what I started with. That's plenty. That is plenty. That is plenty. That's a lot, Mix. Take what I'm telling you.
Oh God, you're too sweet. Thank you so much, guys, for everything. I appreciate it, and I always enjoy myself so much. Spending time with you. It's lovely to be able to speak openly, freely, and tell the truth without any hidden agenda, and to be given the opportunity. So thank you, and I know plenty work goes on in the background. It's us who you see here. So thank you so much, guys, for that as well, for everything. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure as always. We are with next Thursday.
Yeah.
Bye.
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 Daddy Mac out, hold on for the news.
Great. News is next, folks. Spark is in studio with me.
Power 102 Digital.
Yeah.
We sound like home. Power 102 Digital. Streaming 24/7 on power102fm.com and on the Power 102 Digital app. Power 102.